Hello, God bless each and every one of you. My name is David. Today is the 28th day of February. It is Friday, late afternoon, 2020. I hope you had a blessed week, and I hope you have a blessed weekend ahead, and I hope you make your way to church on Sunday. I briefly mentioned in a video the other day that I wanted to talk about something that happened when I got sick. I told the story about, how I got sick and what I've had to deal with, the hospitals, the chemo, all that. I've told that through my testimony, basically through that. But there was something else that happened that I didn't really go into. And I was speaking with one of the ladies at my church the other day. And we got to talking about this, and both of us came to the conclusion that it had to be God, that the coincidences were just so unbelievable that, it had to be God. And I briefly spoke about this the other day, and I said that I was going to do a video and tell you about what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. To the new subscribers I have, I was diagnosed about 10 years ago with a very serious illness with no cure, but I'm giving glory to God that He will cure me. No man-made cure, let's put it that way. And periodically I have to go to chemo to get back in remission when I fall out of remission. Anyways, I don't want to go into that because I've already gave my testimony, I already told my story. But I've picked up a few new subscribers over the last week or so, and I wanted to just basically, update and kind of tell you why I'm going to be talking about what I'm going to be talking about next. But I'm going to talk about when I got sick. I had went to a myriad of doctors and hospitals. Now, I live around Baltimore, and we have some of the very best hospitals, believe it or not, even though it's a really cruddy, crime-infested, drug-infested city. We got some really good hospitals, and as far as I'm concerned, we have the best hospital in the United States of America, and that hospital is Johns Hopkins University, the same hospital that Dr. Ben Carson, who is the president's director of housing, I believe they call it. Dr. Ben Carson was a brain surgeon, a neurosurgeon. He also separated Siamese twins. He did a lot of famous things. The man's a fantastic surgeon. Anyways, that's the hospital he comes from. So, we got good hospitals. Don't have a lot in Baltimore. We have a really terrible baseball team, which I really love. I don't really follow the Ravens too much. I'm not really an NFL person anymore. But I love baseball. That's my passion outside of church and music. I love baseball. So anyways, let's just get on with it. I got sick. I went to a bunch of doctors. I went to a bunch of hospitals. Never found out what was wrong with me. They misdiagnosed me time after time after time. And this went on for 4 months. I got sick at the end of 2009. And it stretched into March of 2010 before I was finally properly diagnosed with what was wrong with me. They did a biopsy. They finally found out why it was not done from day one. I could not tell you. And I still think to this day I would not be in as bad a condition with this illness as I am if I would have been treated promptly, or at least diagnosed promptly and headed towards some type of treatment. Anyways, I digress. I went to doctors, test. I was misdiagnosed from just about everything you can imagine, from lupus to just about everything. I mean, some of the most rarest diseases you could ever imagine. And none of it came back through blood tests and different tests. None of it came back. So they just kept sending me to another hospital, another specialist, And in the meanwhile, I'm getting sicker, and I'm getting sicker, and I'm getting worse. I'm getting weaker and weaker. And it got to the point where To be honest with you, I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up because I could not eat. I was in agony. I've been in some pain in my life, but I was in agony. Sheer agony. Anyways, this is the good part coming up. This is why I say, there is a God, and he was mightily involved in this situation that I'm about to tell you. So finally, I went to we got a visitor. I went to a doctor, another doctor, about the 30th one. Come here, baby. You want to come here? I went to about the 30th doctor. I don't know how many. I went to a lot. And he finally decided to do a biopsy on my back. So they cut a piece of skin off my back. And I had some sores, on my back. And they cut them off. And they sent them into, I guess, the lab or wherever they sent them into. And I guess it was probably a week later. They called me and said to come in. They needed to see me. And I remember very vividly my mother and me going to that doctor. And they telling me what the illness was that I had. Very long name. Never heard of it before. Didn't have a clue what it was. I remember them telling me, we cannot treat this type of illness. It is way beyond anything that we're capable of. You need to find a specialist. The problem was, I didn't have a clue. I had no clue. And remind you, I'm sick. I am extremely, extremely sick. 4 months, no medicines, no treatments for this illness, just, trugging along day by day, getting worse and worse and worse. So, my mom's boss at that time, my mom did home health care, was a internet junkie, I guess is the best way to describe her. She got on the computer and would just surf the internet for hours. So anyways, Mom spoke with her and told her what I had, this, that, and the other, and they looked it up on the internet and found out there was no cure, that, you easily could die from this, that, it could be fatal without any problems, it could be fatal. So, come to find out, now I'm getting to the good part. They found a doctor. There was one doctor in the United States of America that treated this illness. My friends, if you don't believe there's a God, I hope what I'm about to tell you will give you some belief at least. There's one doctor in the United States that's renowned for this. As a matter of fact, he is the doctor that has set the treatment up for this illness. There's 125,000 people worldwide that have what I have. Okay, most of the people get it from Israel. This is something that attacks people of the Jewish, Jewish heritage. I'm not Jewish as far as I know, and he couldn't really figure out why I got it. But I do. I was born with it. It's a genetic illness. It doesn't show up till later in life. Sometimes you just carry the gene. One of your parents gives it to you, or the combination of both give it to you through birth. Sometimes it don't show up. In my case, it did. But anyways, the doctor ended up being the number one man for it, wrote all of the papers for this illness, published all of the things about this illness in different medical journals. He just so happened to be at Johns Hopkins University right in Baltimore, a mere minutes down the road from my house. The main man. Okay? It gets better. I call him up. He's got the charts. He's got my diagnosis. He knows I have this illness. He doesn't take my insurance. Now, Hopkins doesn't take my insurance at all. And I have pretty decent insurance then and now. But they just did not take that specific company. He's the only doctor. So, he decides he doesn't care. He's just going to charge me whatever my copay is to go see a specialist. I think it was $40, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that man for 10 years has charged me $40 to see him. Okay, he still doesn't take my insurance. Anyways, 2017, the end of 2017. So, well, anyways, that's a miracle that the only man that really treats this, that's renowned for treating this, that's gone to Israel and done treatments and stuff, happens to be in my city. I mean, come on. That to me is too much of a coincidence. Anyways, and I lost my train of thought. Anyways, he's rated Hopkins. He doesn't take my insurance, but he'll treat me anyways. So, he gets me on a regimen of different medicines that really are not working. So, he comes up with an idea. He's only done it with maybe one or two of his other patients, and it happened to put them in remission, which is chemo for lymphoma. The chemo drug that they use for patients that have, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or whatever it is, lymphoma, cancer. And so he's giving the cancer drug for lymphoma to patients that have my illness. And he's given it to two other ones, and they have been in remission. Now, he come up with this on his own. So he said, we're going to have to do this because none of this medicines are working. So I went for 2 months. I went through that nasty stuff, and guess what? Put me in remission. And I've had to go back multiple times because I kept falling out. But anyways, in 2017 or 18, he retired from Hopkins. And I spent about a year looking for another doctor. I could not find one in Maryland at all that would treat me. Nobody did it. Could not find one in Delaware, which is the state next to me. I think I found one way down in Virginia, which is hours and hours and hours from here. Virginia's like, just to get to the line is like 3+ hours from here, just to get to the line. And then it takes 5 hours to get through Virginia. So that was really out of the question. I could not find a doctor, and I'm praying not to get sick this whole time, praying, God, please don't let me get sick. I got nobody to treat me. Nobody. I've called every doctor around here. They just were like, we can't do it. We're not, skilled for that, or they didn't even know what it was when I would tell them. So, lo and behold, I called and down to Hopkins, and I was able to get a hold of him somehow. I can't remember if it was his secretary, but anyways, he was only seeing, he went back to teaching is what he did at Hopkins. He went back to teaching and basically stopped seeing patients. But he would go 1 day a week, just on Mondays, to this other office way away from here, but, not about an hour from here. So I was able to, even though I was scrambling to try to find a doctor, the Lord opened the door up for me again to go back and see him. And now I went back a couple weeks ago, and I'm borderline falling out of remission. I'm back on a regimen of drugs that are really nasty. I'm trying to stay out of chemo. He gave me a 3-month, I call it a 3-month reprieve. I got to go back in 3 months, and if I'm not better, then I have to go to chemo. So anyways, that's the story about my doctor and why God is wonderful. Even though I'm sick and I'm battling and it's hard, you have to wonder why I say it's wonderful. Because look what happened. I mean, I'm sure skeptics and non-believers are going to say, oh, it's just a coincidence. Yeah, you can say whatever you want. But I know here in my heart that the Lord, set this up. I mean, it's too far out there for me to believe anything else. So that's what I wanted to tell you. I kind of wanted to make a part 2 to my testimony about my sickness, and I wanted to tell you about this doctor because I think it's just a wonderful little testimony. It's just wonderful. God can do anything. He can do anything. You just need to have faith, persevere, pray, and ask Him. And my friends, He is capable of anything. Believe me, I am a walking, talking example of that very thing. I'm telling you. That's all I got for you. I know I went on longer than I usually do my videos, but it takes a while to tell this story. So, God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend. Get to church on Sunday, because it is wonderful to go to church on Sunday. Take care. God bless, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, safe Friday night. Subscribe, like. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.